All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, After Sound here. And I have a very special guest with me today. And we're going to talk about Stepn primarily, but Wimawks and I have been, well, we connected on a lot of different things. We're very interested in just the broader macro market, crypto, and all these different projects. But for myself, when I was first getting started, Wimawks had reached out to me to discuss Stepn because he'd been in it a little bit longer. So, Wimawks, I want to welcome you to the show and give you a chance to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about your journey, and then we can dive into more about the step-in details from the past week and where we maybe see things going in the future.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Excellent being on the show. Yeah, I just reached out because I had found, and I think as you had found, there was a lot of to the moon, or this is the next Luna, or this is a basic, introduction to how to download an app, and it was kind of missing of what the actual token dynamics and where everything was at. I got into it probably probably at the height, not really the height. So. Sol was just under 100,
Okay.
and I wanted exposure to Sol. I wanted out of Aave and Uniswap, and so I had some things setting in there. Luna probably had not had happened yet, but I like you and I had talked. If I had more time, I would have been exposed to Luna on there.
Yeah.
But I had started doing a reevaluation of my entire portfolio, and like we touched base on, I bought my first Bitcoin and did my first trade probably in 2017, around February-ish on there. So I've kind of seen this move and ebb and flow and into the market. It's going to zero to it's going to the moon, back and forth with all of them. But ventured out of the group that I usually kind of trade with and work with, and went into Sol, went into Stepn, and knew that I couldn't maintain the $800 a day, right? That it was when it was in there.
Wow.
Made all the mistakes.
Mhm.
Probably 2 or 3 weeks before that, at the height of DeFi Kingdoms, I probably bought a few heroes then. I like the idea. I like the idea of kind of summoning things and kind of the gaming aspect. Got into Splinterlands in November, probably again
Cool,
at the
cool.
height, and kind of catching all those. But kind of the difference is the groups that we share with and that I've known for a long time bring it up way earlier. Like I've had a fellow instructor that I taught with. He got into helium really early,
Okay.
and he got into Splinterlands real early. But if you're not researching them, they're really hard ventures into, right? He's like, okay, so it's like Magic the Gathering, or it's like Pokemon, but you got to pay $10 for this spell book, and then you've got to go on the Hive chain to pay this. Or if you do it via Bitcoin, it kept resetting, like it was never, the transaction wasn't going through.
Wasn't
And I
going
was like,
through.
this is just, this is too hard to get into
Yeah.
on there. So I had known about it earlier, but same with the UST thing. I just hadn't had time to get into it, which I value in. And I'm not, I made the mistake of my first purchase because I thought it was like DFK, and so I wanted a trainer with 7 of 7 minting, and then I wanted one with 6 of 7 minting because I thought that's how much was left off. So I bought two
Yeah.
trainers early, um, for commons that were probably 20 soul,
Wow.
at
Okay.
at the top
At
of
the
that.
time.
Um, Waited the 48 hours, went to mint for the crazy amount of minting price that it was before it was dynamic. And it's like, you don't have any mints left. I'm like, what? This is this. Oh, I see what it's doing. But was able to move them out, right? Because
Yeah.
I'd been in the the crypto world long enough that you can probably get your money out pretty quick and switch over. So I went back to commons, and I've just been minting, like every 4 days. I've been pretty lucky, upgraded to commons, and my brother's doing it. His son's doing it as a move and earn video game, right?
That's
Because he
fun.
wants to
Okay.
buy he's either doing video games or Pokemon cards. I forgot what they were doing. And then his wife's also doing it, as a walking aspect. And then my wife's doing it and I'm doing it. And I think what you and I had talked about with the stepping aspect is it's just gotten me to move. And as I was telling
Yeah.
you, I was in Vegas, past week, it made me get up at 4:30 in the morning because I didn't want to go out walking when it was 107 degrees out, right? But it does change your behavior. And it wasn't because I was getting $100. It was because it had the game aspect, and I did not want to waste the
Energy.
energy.
Yeah.
But I wanted a mystery box too. See, this is that has changed the aspect,
Hmm.
because I think the jewel part of that it is in there. So yeah, I've been doing it for 6 weeks or so. We've got 6 sneakers between the three of us or the two of us. We're walking pretty regularly. I'm running uncommons, um, roughly broke even based on where I'm at and where I'm at and where the
That's
market's
great.
at
Yeah.
on there. But as we were talking before we got on, opened it up this morning and saw the market was all over the place, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is. But it makes me, the first thing I do is, because we are using it to offset my wife's earnings because she was a teacher and now she's going to kind of stay at home. So
Hmm.
now and we'll get into this later. Now I was like, okay, this is what GST is, 21 cents. What is the return when it's 10 cents? Like already planning to get to that
Yeah.
point and where that investment is and where I'm at. Also the other thing that I ran into is that you need 2 sneakers because once you get into the 19 and 20 levels, it takes a day to level. So you need
Oh,
another
does it?
sneaker to offset that, right? Which is
I
not
did not know that. Okay.
right. And so that's all and that's where you get into being level 9, kind of in game 19 in game 29 and 30, right?
Hmm.
That's where you kind of hear it talked about a little bit, but that's why too, if you got one sneaker and you're leveling, 21, 22, 23, you're setting for a day.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my background and overall where I'm at in the industry. I've totally changed my view on these.
View on these like
The
games or
Splinterlands,
okay.
DFK, Stepn. I don't think of them as move to earn or play to earn. I
Hmm.
think of it as there's that mobile Star Wars game or the Marvel one, where
Hmm.
you buy the tokens, you level up your characters, you open the mystery boxes, you get more shards, right? And I remember getting Revan and putting up not a ton of money, but quite a bit of money to get Revan first time around, right? First
Hmm.
time he's released on there. You don't get anything back out of that. I think what's beneficial of these is they're going to directly target those microtransactions, and the ecosystems won't shrivel up and die off, but you can move in and out of them, right?
Hmm.
My drawback to Pokemon Go is an excellent one, right? To do all the raids and get all the special characters, you've got to put money in and buy all the access portion, the gatekeeping portions of
Hmm.
that. And you can't do anything with those. So I really went away from mobile gaming for 3 or 4 years, right?
Just
After
a lot of it was pay to win ultimately, right?
it was
So.
pay to win, but there wasn't real trading,
Hmm.
right? The benefit of and you and I haven't hit on this, and I think it's a big part of the internet and web 3.0 and that realm is the big portion of Napster was not stealing music. The big portion of Napster was, hey, I can look at what Aftersound's listening to. He's listening to the same things I am, but he's got all these different albums I didn't know existed.
Hmm.
Like, what else is he listening to? And once that was buttoned up, it took away a lot of that, and that's the basis of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic and these games, is that trading ability, right?
Yeah.
World of Warcraft was big at it. EverQuest was big at it at the beginning, right? But I mean, these ecosystems have existed in the past. If you ever played Diablo 2 when they opened it up and you could
Hmm.
just basically pay money to get it, right? They eventually shut it down. So it's not a new concept that they've done, but what we all want as communities is, hey, you can borrow this while I'm not doing it. I think that's the great thing about Splinterlands.
Hmm.
My assets are not dead if I'm not playing them.
Yeah, you can always get something for them in return.
Let somebody else borrow them, let somebody else play them,
Hmm.
kind of use them. Um, when everything went down, I basically liquidated my paper Magic, right?
Mm,
Because you weren't playing anywhere,
yeah,
and it was, I kept the same two or three commander decks and some of my other kind of relic decks. The one of the first ones I built, and then another one with some bloodbraid elves that I enjoyed. But after that, I was like, there's nothing for me here in this kind of stage. I'm going to move out of that, and
yeah,
really kind of got away from that physical aspect. So I don't think of them as earning ROI or getting my money. I think of it as this is this is my entertainment portion.
yeah.
Stepn, I think of, because I used to do CrossFit a lot. Stepn is my kind of CrossFit coaching push, except I don't have to pay, you know, 10-12 bucks a day to be part of the CrossFit gym,
Well,
right?
you had to pay for the sneakers to get access to that, but
But that was equivalent to me to a gym membership, right?
true, true,
So
yeah,
buying in when it was $2,000 to buy a common, my thought process was I could buy a gym membership for a year, and I'm probably going to stop in 2 to 3 months, because something's going to come up, or I'm going to move, or
hmm
it's going to be cold and I'm not going to go over there. This other part, and I think they have it set up very interesting because, you can earn enough energy that you're exercising for an hour,
yeah,
or you could do it for 5 minutes.
hmm
And it's interesting. I don't know if you've looked at what you have one. You have one common, right?
So I have one common sneaker, and
Is it a
I,
walker
it's a
or a
walker,
jog?
yeah,
It's interesting how it's right at the level, right? I assume because you're kind of, you can walk faster than it is. Because
yeah, yeah,
my jogger is like a really fast walker. But if I run like my pace, like a real
your
running
pace,
pace, I'm outside of my jogger, so I can walk fast enough to barely, but it'll dip down every once in a while. I have to stop at a light or something like that. But it's interesting how they took these sections and already divided it up for everyone. Right? You
sure,
can
yeah,
get in for a common, and you can get a walker, and you're good to go. And then, of course, everything that's cheap is the runner, right? Because
hmm
that's what my brother did. He's like, okay, well, I'm just going to get in for the cheapest one. I'm going to buy the runner. I can run. He got to the 25-30 minute realm, right? Getting more energy. And he's like, I got to get another shoe, man. I can't run
I
30
care,
minutes every day and maintain where this is at. And so it's
yeah,
interesting, all the data that they used on there,
hmm
and how much they're changing on that. So that's where I'm at in kind of the overall aspect and world of, I hate the crypto world, right? Because it's really a gaming world.
yeah,
It's a
that,
gaming world with an open token, just happens to be on a blockchain of some sort.
hmm
But I wanted exposure to Solana. Um, that's one of the other reasons why I went in there. The other one was, as we talked about, move some stuff off Celsius. So I had it set in there. So it wasn't stuff that I'd put in per se.
hmm
But it did take a loss. But I think the pricing aspect is built in. That's why I told my brother, because we used to do EVs and what it was to open a minted shoe and a shoe box and
yeah,
everything. I think everything's priced in, and I think if you spent the same amount of money now, as it was to get in, then you could earn about the same, right?
really,
Because
okay,
you're going to buy a lot more shoes. Now, the
yeah,
thing that's changed is you've got to walk for that 45 minutes now. And I think
yeah,
that's what they're wanting to curb, right? They're wanting
hmm
people to play it.
yeah,
So I think that, that we can kind of go into the week that was on there, and where they changed, right? Because to me, what they did this past week, after looking at it, is they want people to play. They don't
hmm
want people minting.
yeah. Which gets back to your point about like at the end of the day, these are supposed to be games, and I
Right.
think the fact that they were built on blockchains with, and here's the important part, at least for me, with open ecosystems, right?
Right.
Meant people could come in and find where the arbitrage was and then exploit the hell out of it.
Right.
Happened with Splinterlands and it happened with Stepn. And so
Yep.
now that that exploit came in, that exploit for both games, I would say for Splinterlands and for
Yep.
Stepn, that ended up being a almost like a PR driver because it
Right.
got people in. But now that everything is just, the bull market wave is leaving the shores, and it's,
Yep.
showing who has their pants still on and who doesn't.
Right.
So what essentially is happening now is you have the people who are either, the ones that are saying, oh, this is a Ponzi scheme, this is a scam, or they're the ones who are saying like, oh, I kind of like it for what it is, because it's getting me to get outside and run, and like, this is the whole point of what I wanted it to be. It's the same thing for me, right? Like, I wouldn't do cardio every single day. Now I
Right.
am. Like, my workouts used to consist of going to the gym a couple of times a week, and then
Right.
maybe some cardio here and there. But now it's just like, oh shoot, I can go for a walk every single day. And
Yep.
I'm doing more than, I only have one shoot, so it's 10 minutes. But it's
Right.
just like, oh well, now like I usually go for more than 10 minutes anyway. I should really
Yep.
start looking at some of the other shoes if I want
Yep.
to. But I'm waiting for the market to kind of settle in, because I think, at least in our private conversations, and we can expand on it here, you've said that you expect the prices to go down a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we can get into the reasonings, or at least your perspective on that. So this past week has been obviously very rough. Bitcoin sneezed again, so we're down to like 27K, and
Right.
Ethereum's hurting. A lot of the altcoins are hurting.
Yep.
GST is at 21 cents, at least at the time of this recording,
Yep.
which I got in a couple weeks ago. GST was like $1.50. I was like, oh yeah, I can make a couple bucks per walk. Now I can make maybe I don't know how much, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's nothing essentially at this point. So, and you even referenced, what's this going to look like once GST hits 10 cents. So
Yeah.
do you want to dive into the article itself, or do you want to give just
Yeah,
maybe an overview?
let's look at the article, and we
Okay.
can kind of see how everything is, because then once we get to the other part
Yeah.
on there. So problem one, I think I understand what they were
Mhm.
trying to do, right? This is the
This is
cross
the
realm
cross realm energy
energy. So
bridge.
this was basically taking your Solana shoe over BNB, and then because even when Solano GST, and see, this is another, and I think that this is very something that we should hit on, is how, and I hate this term in today's world, but how frictionless the experience was, right? To go through
Sure.
between
Yeah.
tokens, it was pretty easy to set up. But I still think, like, knowing that you can take a Solana shoe, bridge it over to BNB, and then earn over there, right? And so I the way I understand it is, they wanted to limit how many cheap Solana shoes you could take over to BNB, because even when GST on Solana was even like 80 cents, I think it was still 340, 350 on
Yeah.
BNB,
I
right?
mean,
Just because there was a lot less demand on there.
mhm.
So they were bridging it. You could take your Solana shoes, bridge them over, which every time I bridge somewhere, it's
Mhm.
I always have to go look up the guide. And I think of other people that don't set with 3 screens and various other
Yeah, I didn't
tracking.
even realize you could bridge the NFTs over from one side to the other.
That is my understanding.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought it was
And
you could just
so
get the energy from it.
I, maybe, but it's
But sorry,
so
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no. So you're on BNB, right?
I'm on Solana.
I don't even
I
know. So are you saying we have energy on BNB?
So essentially, from my understanding, you would have cross realm energy bridge. So I could own 2 shoes on Solana and 1 shoe on BNB, and then I'd be able to have double the energy, right? I'd be able to have 4 energy instead of 2. And the thing is, I could go run with my BNB shoe, even though the Solana shoes are much cheaper to buy from a US dollar standpoint, right?
So if we had one, so we just had one BNB shoe, we could use the energy on any realm.
Correct. And that energy would be shared across the Solana realm. And the fact that they're planning to open up a bunch of new
Ah,
realms means that, a
this
lot of the shared energy is going to be,
see, and this is why we were why I was wanting to do this, right? Is to talk through it. This makes sense then, because I was on before the BNB
okay.
aspect, and they're you have your typical Discord. They're all mad because all these other people got Gen Zeros and they didn't, because they were early adopters on there. And I was
hmm
kind of thinking that, but you would just, I mean, shoe prices were just going insane.
Yeah.
Makes sense now. Right? They got the Gen Zeros, had their BNB, went over and just bought a whole bunch more, to get to 20 on the
hmm
Solano side. And I think so. I think that your fallout that you're seeing now is they're realizing they're not going to get that benefit, right? So they're letting their Solano shoes go now,
Yeah, exactly.
while they don't go down on there. Okay, that makes wow, I wish I would have known that. I would have went and bought a B&B shoe. But it's to the UST aspect. It's to the common, gamer on there. How are they supposed to figure all this out? Like, to the
Yeah,
point, where is it listed? Like, when you get in the app, you have to go dig on the Discord, or I don't even know if it's in their white paper on there. Because there's many times my brother is asking me, like, what's the minting outcome of these two aspects, right?
mhm,
And you have to go back to the white paper and do it, because it's just not evident. It's seamless to transact in tokens, right? And if you remember to move some of your GST to your main wallet, you can flip it for GMT when you need it. It's not very intuitive that you can do that on there, but
yeah,
it's pretty easy for when you and I had done it, because we had done it before. And I like the
yeah.
fact that it is in the app, but there's no, I had no idea that I could buy a B&B shoe and earn
And take
$3
advantage.
GST, right?
Yeah. Well, and now here's the thing, like
Now they're
it sounds
going to
like they're going to be
cap it.
opening up more realms, but they're limiting the amount of energy that you can. Not in the sense of like they're capping it, but they're limiting the amount of time that you'll have that
Right. That cross
energy. So
realm.
it's yeah. So it looks like it's just going to last for about 3 months, and then from 4 months onwards you won't get that benefit.
So after the fourth month, they won't see each other, essentially. Is that the way I'm understanding it?
That's what I'm understanding too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
So maybe the realms will just exist independently.
I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know. You're not in DFK too much. Did you do the Christabel stuff?
No, I mean I'm following DFK. I had some money in the pools, but I had UST in the pool, so that's pretty much gone now. So
um because to me, so it's interesting that they say this, because a lot of what I watched, and we're doing a kind of a side conversation, but I wonder how it relates here as they do the new realms, because it's my understanding that they've got the third realm figured out.
mhm.
And it's the fourth one that they're taking bids on, and I wonder if the third or fourth would be Ada, right? I think whichever one of the ones that are setting out there, because it was AVAX. Was it AVAX on, or Avalanche on DFK? Is that what Crystal Vale is? Yeah.
I'm not sure, to be honest with
I,
you.
I think I
So
think it's
okay.
Avalanche, but there was talk because there was such a discrepancy, right? Because basically,
Mhm.
when they made another realm in DFK, they only did a quarter of what was available for Jewel, and so for the crystal that's available, it's a quarter of what the Jewel is available. And a lot of people always said that it would return to the price of Jewel, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
That crystal was just a 25% extension of Jewel, and
Mhm.
I hadn't quite gotten that yet. And you look at it now, and it's basically where it's at, right? They're basically
Yeah.
on par with each other. Um,
Well, that's what people are saying about the Binance Smart Chain. Like it's eventually going to make its way down to wherever GST on Solana is.
but will it, if there's a time frame, right? So I'm trying to think it through. I guess so, because it's encouraging you to get more over there faster,
Mhm.
right? That you're on that side more, because if
Yeah.
you know there's a limit, a lot more people will. So I could see it actually spiking initially.
Well, I think that's what it did, and that's why it's higher right now
Right.
than Solana, because there's opportunity there, right? And if you can
Right.
get in and get out at the right times, you can make a boatload. Because if you're one of the first people in, can start minting while everybody else is rushing into a new realm, you can be
Right.
the one that's selling them at the all time highs for those shoes. But over time, as the market within each of these individual realms, I shouldn't say the market, but the supply within
Right.
each of the individual realms starts to get oversupplied, similar to Solana, they're all going to kind of follow that, which we're going to talk more about the sneaker burning mechanism later. But at this point in time, there's no reason to believe that BSC wouldn't make its way down to where Solana currently is.
So does this conversation, if you're going to go for another sneaker, you being at one, does this make you want to go look at Binance
Not at
Smart
all.
Chain?
I'm only looking at Solana right now.
Yeah.
And that this is the weird thing for me, because like I'm much more comfortable and like BSC.
Yeah.
So this, Stepn was my first kind of foray, and the reason for me to get, as you were saying, exposure to Solana. I
Yeah.
kept hearing about it, and I was like, okay, here's something that's worthwhile for me to at least start looking at. It was enough for me to finally like set up a wallet and figure out how to do all that fun stuff. But as of now, I don't mind keeping everything in one realm. Even though you'll be able to share across, it's just at the end of the day, the prices on BAC are still higher,
Right.
and so I just don't want to bother with that. Sure, the earnings might be a little bit better right now, but I do feel like they're eventually going to find parity with one another.
It's to that point, it's already priced in, right? You it's a higher barrier of entry, but if you're going in for ROI out of it, you're not going to get your shoe
Hmm.
investment into it because it's going to go down back to the parity that we're in Solana. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that makes sense. I
And
can
it may
agree.
not reach it exactly. Like I think
Right.
ultimately, like each of these markets is going to be independent. But I mean, I don't know. It just they're both doing the same thing right now.
Right.
So
Exactly.
at some point, if the market saturates itself proportionally, then you'll have something similar.
Right.
Which I don't know. I don't know long term what kind of effects these changes will have, but I think that this will reduce the amount of exploits that happen like as soon as BSC was launched.
Yeah, and I think it changes too. When we get down, if you want to go to the next, I think it's the next one. Um, the next point of out of this is that you actually have to move to mint, right?
Hmm.
Um, so I think that will change it on there quite a bit. This has me. Yeah, I'm going to stay in the realm of Solana.
Solana as
I
well.
don't. It, like we kind of talk on um, before. I just don't have time to navigate all these realms, right?
Yeah.
I'm not only in Stepn. I use Stepn to get me out of the house to go walk my Stepn
Hmm.
energy out,
Well,
right?
the thing is, do you have experience with BSC at all? Like you have a wallet and all that?
I do, but I have old B because I remember when B&B came online, like when they offered their token.
Hmm. Me
Um,
too.
and so I actually my original Binance account I can't get to anymore. So if that tells you how
Same.
early it was,
I,
right? I
I think you
never
and I were around the same time.
when
Yeah.
I got all the threatening letters, I never moved off. And it was very similar to what happened with Celsius too, is like, hey, you have 7 days now. And I was like, oh, I better move it to something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did a little bit, but I don't have anything of what they've done recently
Okay.
with
So,
the
well, I mean,
NFT and
to
the
your
other
point, it's not
tokens.
really worth it for you to set it up. Then you
Yeah,
might as well stay with what you're comfortable with at this point in time, because there's no like crazy benefits on that side. It's
right.
like you pay more to earn more, but at some point, like I feel like those will reach something similar to where Solana's at.
Right. It's all priced in, and it's like, how much more do you want to put in
Hmm.
to earn that? And the way I usually think about it, if I've already thought about it, everyone else has already figured it out. So I'm a little late to the game because I don't have that much time to front run it. Because the other aspect is, this is worldwide, right?
Yeah.
So there's people that this is all they're doing,
Hmm.
right? And for me to think that I can spend 35 minutes figuring out where the arbitrage is and to front run them is a not worthwhile time. And it goes to the point of I think this problem too. Um, and the question that you see a lot now is like, should I get into stepping now?
Hmm.
And it depends what you want to do. Do you want to do this just pure mint, right? And flip sneakers, um, which I did the physical sneaker flipping there for a while, and it was just a
It's a
pain in
grind,
the
isn't it?
it's insane.
Yeah.
These cook groups and it goes back to that. These guys are this is what they do, right?
Yeah.
So if you're kind of a one off, this is the same kind of aspect. But I like this part too, um, that you're going. I'm concerned a little bit about the scrolls in the mystery boxes because you
Hmm.
can't get mystery boxes yet, can you? Right? Because you have one sneaker.
No, I can't, but that is something that's going to change as part of one of the changes here. But as of now, I can't.
So from my end, I started getting them
Can you just give a little overview of how they work first, and then
the mystery boxes.
Yeah, well, the scrolls and the mystery boxes, because that like this is something that's foreign to me. I've just heard about it.
So the mystery boxes are based on your luck and your energy
Of the shoe that you're using.
of the shoe that you're using. And um, from what I understand, it's basically almost impossible under 5 energy. Like
Okay.
there's there's the RGN that or RNG that you have a chance, but the chance is so small
Hmm.
that you'll probably never get one. But once you go over 5 energy, um, you're almost guaranteed every time you complete 5 energy. It's very rare that I've seen after having 5 energy and the wife having 5 energy, um, that when we're done, if you do the full 5 in a session, that you don't get a mystery box on it.
Okay.
The issue is that I find is that and when they talk about the minting in here, they're going to do the cooldown for minting from 48 to 72 hours. The other issue is that the mystery boxes are, I think, set on a 96-hour timer, or
Okay.
you can use GST to open them. So we run them through, and we were getting to a point that when we started our next walk or run, we were having to time it with the box being timed out so we could open it for only 9 GST. So there's a timer on the box,
Hmm.
on the mystery box. You can rush it much like you can rush leveling,
Yeah. Okay.
um, of an aspect. And so I think this is another way they're going to encourage burning GST. Right now, I don't want to burn GST to rush a box because, if I get another comfort gem that's worth 0.08 soul, it's not worth. Well, I take it back. It wasn't worth burning the GST then. It is now that you're down
Since
to
GST is so low.
right, because before that it was better just to burn a box. And if you move a sneaker, like gift a sneaker, to your external wallet, you lose all your mystery boxes. It resets them all.
Oh, okay. Did not know that.
Right. So that has a whole nother dynamic. So depending how scrolls are rewarded, um, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a challenge to get to having enough scrolls, because from what I've heard is it's 2 scrolls to mint, 1 for each shoe, and it has
Hmm.
to be the level of that shoe. So if you want to mint 2 uncommons, you have to have 2 uncommon scrolls to do that.
Gotcha.
One,
Okay.
one with each shoe. It doesn't have to be by that shoe, from my understanding, but it has to be at
Has
the
to be
same level
at the same
as
level
that
of shoe.
shoe. And I don't think you're going to be able to sell these because you can't. You can sell gems, but you cannot. I cannot give you a gem right now.
Got it. Okay.
So the gems are just kind of setting in there. So I
So
think this is beneficial to get people to moving and just not minting. I guess if you did it, you could go infinite, right? If you had enough initial investment and you were just minting shoes and buying GST, um, I think it covers itself. Like if you look at a common, last time I ran it, it was roughly, and this is well before, this is 2 weeks ago or so. It was 7 to mint, and you can sell them for 9. So I guess you could kind of go infinite on that aspect of
yeah.
just minting shoes.
Well, so actually, maybe we can even just skip down now to. I think it's the next portion. Now they have the dynamic minting cost. So this won't be going on forever now with the new cost, right?
Right. Right.
Or am I
And
am I not understanding that right? Because
no,
they're trying to slow down the people who are just minting and
right.
selling, right? They really want
And
people to be playing the
and
game.
right. And the first roll came out, was when GST went down, right? That's when they did the first dynamic, because
Hmm.
then they pegged it to what the price of GST was.
Yeah,
And now they're doing, what's the other one?
GMT.
It's funny that we'll bring in another game. Like Rising Stars is doing this too, right? With the millionaire
The millionaire card.
club reward is based on how many times you've already done it,
Yeah.
right? And so
And,
it's interesting that they're picking up on these pretty quick,
mhm.
right? And these changes, and how it was Splinterlands was looking at, I wish that DEC was more like Luna, 3 months ago and
Mm-hmm.
pegged to a different mechanism that was burning more. So it's interesting to watch everyone watch each other and make these
Good
adjustments.
ideas. Yeah.
Um, I'm I'm of the aspect that we're going to see a lot of shoes unloaded, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it should be $8-10 for a common, honestly, right?
Really, you
It
think it's
should
gonna
be
kind of come down that far?
because I think it should be easy for people to get into it. Like it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't cost you $2,000.
To get into the game. Yeah.
Right, to get into that, but I think it should scale. If back to my point, I think you could make I don't think you can make what it was when GST was $8,
Mm-hmm.
right, and you're making $200 a day. But I think if you really broke it down and looked at it, if you put the same amount of money in, you're going to have to their point, put more effort in,
Yeah.
right? You're not just going to be sitting there printing shoes. But I think if you out there and you're going to want to move, and let's say it was $2,000 for a common, and now you can almost get 6 uncommons or 7 uncommons, for two
For
thousand
that price.
bucks.
Yeah.
That's going to put you at almost 12 energy. That's a whole different, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and if you put that hour time work into it, I think you can get back to that 60-80 bucks, because you're going to be earning 200-300 GST off of that.
Yeah. Well, assuming GST remains at its current value or stays around.
Right.
Well, okay. So let's take a quick moment here to look at GST price, and I can't give a price prediction because I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm curious
Right.
to get your thoughts, because there's two things that I feel like I'm hearing. One is that one that we know, which is GST is unlimited, and the amount that's being printed essentially is still driving the value down as people are selling, trying to get recoup their investment. You earlier on the show were saying that you're already planning ahead for what happens when GST is 10 cents, right?
Right.
Now,
Well, I'm watching SPS actually. I think GST is more kind of correlated. It's not the same aspect as
mhm,
SPS, but I think there's way more we know there's way more users in Stepn. I don't
mhm.
think we'll see a GST to DEC conversion, right, where it's below a penny.
No.
Um,
I mean, unless it goes to zero, right? The
right,
only way. But like, it was interesting hearing or seeing. I think Gilgamesh, the community manager, was saying that the intent was for GST to be around $3 as like a stable value. But
right.
it's interesting that a team member will say that, and literally, we're looking at their official update here, and they have minting costs for GST being anywhere between less than $4 to more than $50.
But
So,
not 25 cents,
well, I mean that I guess that
right?
falls under the under this one. But I guess my question is just like, what kind of what other kinds of utility can they add in? Because right now it doesn't seem like there's enough. Sure, we can look at the market dumping, and that's definitely had an effect. But I would say that so far it's just people are selling off the GST token. So like, how
So
do you see that playing out?
I see Solana. I wouldn't be surprised. I see Solana at $20. I wouldn't be surprised for the $10 Solana.
Really?
And
Okay.
yeah, I just don't, because until Bitcoin is over the bull market support bands, which is the 21 EMA and the 23 SMA, whatever the numbers are, whichever.
Hmm.
Go figure out which ones those are, but everyone agrees on the same thing.
Yeah.
And we haven't hit the 200 moving average, right, or 300, whichever the bottom is. We haven't set in the bottom. You'll see these fake out moves,
Hmm.
but everyone's going into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will bleed 10%, alts will bleed 30%. It's just going to be this cascading effect on
Yeah.
there. And so if we're at a $32 Solana, and we go down to 20 or 15, you're looking at 30 to 50%. $10, you're looking at a third of what it was.
Hmm.
So it's not anywhere unfathomable to see GST at 10 cents, 8 cents, right? And
I
and
agree.
I don't think, I think from what I see, the community is like, you need to buy up all this GST. This is a common aspect in the NFT world, right? The floor sweeping aspect.
Hmm.
that they need to dump money in and buy it. I'm not convinced that they have a full understanding of, not a full understanding, but if you watched UST, the problem was that they could never catch up. They couldn't move fast enough,
Hmm.
right? Because once everyone moved in on them, it was just a cascading aspect, right?
Sure.
They couldn't catch up. And what I love about the uh, blockchain world and the crypto market in general is it's real and it punishes you, right?
Yeah,
If you move the wrong way, it will
that's for
do
sure.
it in a real time, but it will move back. It'll correct the other time, right?
Hmm.
Um, so those people that were going in, and I've changed kind of my thought process in the market for tokens that I was holding that had lost 80% that I didn't see any utility in. And this long way of getting what is the utility of GST. Um, I've abandoned, right? If I'm down 80% on a token, let's say Sushi Swap or Uniswap or something
Hmm.
that I'm not using, I wasn't going to hold it anymore to make my 100% back, right? Because I was just wasn't using it and I wasn't in on that. Where
Hmm.
I see the use in GST is that they're just going to keep moving that number up, right? Because it used to be like 800 to mint a shoe and it's 1400 now, right?
Oh,
I
okay.
mean,
So you're talking about they're just going to increase the GST
yeah,
prices
I
for
think the way
activities.
they're gonna, I think that's the mechanic that they're going to use.
Interesting.
But my goal is to get to end game because I think you'll get rewarded there, and my goal is to have a second level 30 shoe that is fitted to be ready to become max comfort. Right.
Okay.
I'm looking for a shoe that, and really base stats are irrelevant because you add so many stats after that. Right.
Hmm.
So paying like 5 SOL extra for, like 3 more stats to me is not worth it because in the end, you're so far ahead.
You're
It's
so far. Yeah.
the gym slots are very valuable. And I think where you maintain wealth or you hold wealth is in gyms
Okay.
because you can move those around, right? And as you upgrade shoes, you can move your gems in and out of the
Hmm.
shoe. So my next aspect is getting a comfort shoe that is level 30 that when they make that live to earn GMT,
GMT earnings. Yeah.
I can move over to that because I think a lot of people are looking at not what the end game is, right? They're
Hmm.
just thinking of you use a GST for repairs and you use it to level up. There is some minting aspect into that, but there's a whole nother realm of things that they're going to do
Yeah.
in the game, right? We're very early in where it's at.
Yeah.
Um,
I, just to be clear, I was surprised to learn that they are still considering that this is beta. So they're
well,
they're still in
uh,
beta, right?
NBA Top Shot is still in beta, technically.
Mm. I don't know much about NBA Top Shot,
Um,
but
so I mean, it's been around for almost 3 years, and
okay,
it's still in
fair.
that aspect. And I
Okay,
think
fair.
what I like about this team is they came out and addressed it immediately. Now, a lot of people probably won't like this outcome because it's not getting GST back to that $4 floor
Hmm.
that they're thinking that it should be. But I don't know if an unlimited token should be that high unless it has more utility, right?
Yeah. So
Because
what is this dynamic pricing then? Is this them just future proofing or hedging their bets in case they do something weird with the tokenomics that causes GST to rise in price or a surge in
yeah,
demand for GST?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's to that. But I actually think it's to burn more and to kind of justify the way I look at it. Because when they came out of it and they said, when we were at $8 when I first got into it, and you're kind of moving down, um, they didn't have that price built in, so it's just like,
Sure.
well, wait for a while, and it's just you're burning the same GST. Well, now you're just going to get a tumbling effect, right? Because once everyone waits, then you're going to have a bunch more shoes and a bunch more GST, and so they're just moving that peg. And even the people that aren't in Stepn that I kind of posted this for and said, hey, they're pretty receptive of it. They're like, this is kind of an ingenious aspect to that token kind of drying up. That when you get too far over, you get overinflated
Yeah.
too fast on where that's at. So I like that aspect of it for GST. It's just I don't. It's just still I question that their floor is $4
Okay.
because that doesn't. I mean, you could 8 times and you're still not at $4, right? I mean, you're just kind of there's a lot of way to go to get to that
Get to that
bottom
$4
floor
range.
unless they
Sure.
see something. But um, NBA Top Shot. So to kind of give a background on that, Dapper did UFC's got NFTs, NBA's got NFTs, NFL's got NFTs, and clown show at best is what I can describe how things are handled. Um,
You're talking about
because
NBA Top Shot?
yeah, well, just all of it because they just branched out so much.
Yeah.
And I think what Stepn's realized is to like hold back on the realms a little bit
Mm-hmm.
and kind of get this stabled out and fixed because the end of the series 3 of NBA Top Shot, they were printing 60,000 moments per player. And so
Oh,
the
okay.
the floor was like at $1. So you're paying, you know, $9, $10, $20 a pack to get 3 or 4 moments. And most likely all of them are going to be $1. Well, there's
Mm,
no sense in buying packs at that point, right?
yeah.
And to the part of I'm not convinced Splinterlands overestimated that they had 15 million. But I'm convinced that Top Shot thought there were way more users that would buy at that 60,000 level because they came back and walked it back and said there will not be a moment from here on out printed over 30,000.
Wow. Okay.
So they missed it by double the factor of what they thought they could sell.
Mm-hmm.
That got into they just introduced the burning mechanism. So there's a whole crafting challenge now where you put all these moments up and it burns them all. They had it prior to that their ticket method was you could trade in these dollar tickets
Mm-hmm.
and then get another pack. So you could trade in 4 of these and that price to floor about $2. You could get a $9 pack and maybe get more moments and get some series 1 on there. But now they've introduced burning.
Okay.
I think the burning mechanism, which is the next point of this. So I think
Yeah. I
that
was going to
the
say that
dynamic
that'll lead into
adjustment of this fixes the GST. I think you went past it. Yeah, the
There we go.
recycling
Recycling.
mechanism.
Yeah.
I think this changes it
Okay.
because I'm not. So if you mint 2 uncommons, you have like a 97% chance to get an uncommon shoebox and a 3% chance to get a rare shoebox.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you open that shoebox, you have like a 25% chance to get a common and like a 75% chance to get an uncommon. So that feel bad moment, I don't embrace in this because I don't feel like you should be taking a risk. But this changes it now. If I know that I might hit a common every once in a while, but I can do something with it, not just sell it for 3 soul,
Mm-hmm.
I'm more likely to open those up and kind of figure out where they are. I've done pretty well minting on there. Everything that I have minted has been way better than anything on the market.
Do
And
you just mint and sell?
no,
Or
I
are you
mint
just hanging on to mint and keep? Okay.
except I think when I first reached out to you was the first time everything was tanking.
Mm-hmm.
So I had minted an uncommon, opened my first uncommon, kind of nervous, and it was an uncommon trainer.
Oh,
Well, then
nice.
the floor started tanking. So I sold it like a week and a half ago for the floor there, and then it just turned around. And this was when commons, you could grab commons for like 2 soul, if you
Yeah.
remember like that one day.
I remember there was like one night where I was just like, I was looking and I was like, oh, this is cheap. And then the next day I woke up, it was back up to 4 or
We're
5.
back at that floor. So what I sold my uncommon for 10 days ago, we're back to what I could get it back for.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think we go down more, right? I think you're going to
Sure.
have these fake pumps on there. And I actually took all my soul and most of my GST and just parked it in USDC. This is another good thing about the app.
You
Right?
you can transfer into the USDC.
You can kind of set out of that, but this gives me kind of a different plan of of this recycling mechanism because, right, it's 5 to get an uncommon, 5 commons to get on. It's just 5 to go to the next level.
So you can just now you have every incentive to move, then to mint, and then level up essentially.
Right, and there'll probably be a GST aspect to this that would be similar to minting, that you're spend so much GST to combine these 5 together.
What are the minting costs again? It consists of both GST and GMT, right? Based on the.
It depends where. Let me give you an example of. Let me tell you an uncommon right now. I'll do it off the app just so I don't have to calculate it. But it's roughly 2 sol. If you the way I've been doing it lately, 2 sol over the floor of a runner that's been minted.
Yeah.
But this has 0 mints on it, but it's about 3 sol underneath a shoebox, if that makes sense. So it's right in that range. Right?
Okay.
Because remember, you're taking a risk that you can open a common.
Yeah.
Out of there. But last time I did the EV on it, the EV was still, you're better off opening it. Because if you hit a trainer, or if you mint and you double mint, let me take that back. First time I minted a common, I actually double minted a common.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so that gave me enough, like double minting the common and then opening an uncommon trainer gave me enough to not have to ape in to get 3 shoes for me and 3 shoes for my wife. That's how I got to that uncommon level.
Got it. Okay.
I didn't just go full degen like I usually would in that. But to mint 2 uncommons right now is 1360 GST and 240 GMT. It's roughly the same price that that 860 level or 960 level.
Interesting. Okay. Well, the thing is, as the price of GST continues to drop,
right,
I feel like there's still incentive to mint because you can come in and mint for much cheaper now too.
I think there is, and I think they don't want to take that away. They just don't want you not moving.
Okay.
So it's roughly 566 to mint right now.
USD.
Yeah. So in sol, and see the reason I don't know that price is I either think in sats or sol. One of the two. I don't. So roughly 17 sol, which I will bet that's basically what the floor is right now. Let me look real quick.
But that's for an uncommon.
For an uncommon, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And you can roughly apply the same order of magnitude.
Same logic. Okay.
So for a 2 mint level 5 runner, it's 13.2 sol.
Okay. Yeah. So right around that range, then you said.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's but so if you look, one thing is that I look at a lot is the rare trainers.
Mm-hmm.
This will give you a magnitude. So if you look at rare trainers now, there's probably only 4. No, there's only 3 on the marketplace.
Okay.
For 290 sol.
Oh, wow.
So this changes because now if you can take 5 uncommons, which uncommon trainer is roughly 40 sol, right? I mean, you're in the same order of magnitude where that price is. But, if you have a rare trainer, most likely you're not going to flood the market. And you can kind of do something with all these uncommon runners that you get, right? Because after that 4th shoe, there's no incentive to hold a 4th common. Because you got to get to the 9th shoe to give you any more energy. If you hold a 4th uncommon, at least it gives you that +1 energy, right? So that's why the commons are just so out. There's no reason to hold one until it's unless you're at your
until you get to 9,
right? And you hit it, then and give you the 9th one. There's a reason to hold it then, but you'd want to swap out for an uncommon at that point.
Gotcha. Okay. The other thing here too is I'm thinking through like the minting versus recycling. Is it seems as though they're giving higher attribute ranges to the so they're really trying to incentivize people to recycle rather than but I guess what this will mean then is you're going to get a lot of folks who end up recycling the common and uncommon shoes, or
Right.
like the lower level shoes, we'll say lower
Yeah.
rarity shoes, to try and get up higher, right?
Right.
Because
So I've said that I would expect to see a one sole, because there's just a psychological barrier with
mhm,
that shoe, right? That once they're one sole. I mean, you saw when we got the two sole, they were snatched up like crazy, and then you just didn't see them anymore. Now we're
yeah,
about 3.7, but I could see us not ever getting the one sole if this comes out like next week, right? And people
yeah,
are buying them up. If you have three uncommons, might not make sense there, because then you'll lose your three. But let's just say you have three uncommons. To buy two uncommon, or three commons, to buy two commons, for 7 soul, and then get an uncommon out of it, that's going to be better than what you had.
yeah, or
That's
what you
like
would
a
have
no
gotten at the
brainer. I
market.
mean, if you're wanting to kind of get back into it, or you have something set on the sidelines, and you're talking 3 or 4 soul is $90.
Hmm.
That's not, you're not talking 2,000 that you were 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, so it's a little bit easier kind of pill to swallow. And I've often said, like, the barrier of entry and where these need to be, they need to be equivalent to a video game
Yeah,
purchase, right? They need to be in that realm of 30 to $60, to kind of unlock the next level or aspect of the game, not 2,000
hmm,
barrier of entry. I mean, that was always the interesting thing, is like, yeah, you can earn $200 a day, and I'm like, yeah, but you got to put in like 4,000. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
you've got to really have something setting on the sidelines to kind of get into where this
Hmm.
aspect was.
Well, that's when you knew it was like too good to be true, right? Because I felt like every like video that I saw early on was, okay, you can make $200 a day, you got to put 4,000 in, but you make your money back in 20 days. And it's just
Right.
like you look at that chart and it's just like, well, that 20 days become 100 days, became 5 years after you know what I mean? Like, so
Well,
it's just
it's
this
to your
moving
point.
target.
It's to your how you did the breakdown of the node, right? It works today,
Yeah, it
but
works. Yeah, snapshot.
unless you're going to get it all today, that it doesn't apply out to where it's
Exactly.
at. And it goes to, I think the big question that a lot of people want answered is, do I get into Stepn now? It goes back to what we were originally saying. What do you want out of it?
Hmm.
Right? Do you want to retire out of it? Then no, probably not. I'd probably just go to Bitcoin and write it out till 2030, if you can do that. But if you want to do something and go walk along the beach, I mean, my wife loves it because she just gets to walk and she gets some sort of reward. And
Yeah.
what I like about it is she gets to learn about NFTs that you can explain it to someone ad nauseum. And it's crazy because I'm late. I mean, as I've told people now, kind of go off on a side story. I don't care if you get into Bitcoin or not, right?
Hmm.
I'm well past that now, that I need you in it to be successful.
Yeah.
I just trying to educate people. But even the NFT realm, and even with me like sponsoring them, right? Being like, hey, I'll send you a shoe, just use the activation code.
Yeah.
They were still hesitant, right? Because they don't understand what an NFT is.
Yeah.
But if I gave them a pair of Jordans and said, hey, flip these, there wouldn't be a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a whole different aspect. And what I like is it's just let people, move, walk, and learn about
Hmm.
NFTs. They seem pretty responsible too. Right.
Who the team?
The team does, right.
In
That
what
they're
way? I've
that
heard a lot of criticism of the team, but not that I'm saying that it's valid criticism, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on the team because
that
it's.
they come out with a plan that is not reactive to
Mhm.
address the public. Like, there nowhere have they said that we're going to return GST back to $4 and you're all going to be made whole again. Right.
True. Okay.
It's like, this is what we're going to do that. And I guess because I've done a bunch of different NFTs, all these communities just think that you're going to board yacht ape of it, right? They
Yeah.
all think in 8 months you're going to have $250,000 on the
Oh,
next
or they're just
project.
gonna start airdropping tokens to you worth 6 figures. It's not gonna happen.
Right. And they haven't said anything of that. They haven't introduced kind of new aspects. They've really focused I think the drawback to some of these other projects like DFK and Splinterlands is they're like, okay, yeah, we'll kind of address this a little bit, but
Hmm.
we're going to release land and then we're going to release this new aspect that, right? And it just comes more convoluted. And it seems to me like the Stepn group is focusing on getting people to move
Yeah. Well,
and rewarding you to own shoes and level those shoes up, which to me is what a game is,
yeah. No, I
right?
agree. I mean, you can look across the board now. Whether it's, well, I haven't followed DFK as much, but Stepn, Splinterlands, I mean, even Rising Star to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Rising
we
Star
are
is
we
another
are
good one.
incentivizing you to own something in the game, to use it, to play with it,
Right.
and then it's not as much about the earnings, which I think people maybe have a right to feel is somewhat disingenuous, because like, a lot of the marketing maybe early on, maybe not even intended by the team, but just with the hype cycle that was the
Right.
bull market run, a lot of it was like, whoa, you can go in and start like earning tons of cash just playing this game, or you could go and you could hold like X amount of DEC
Quit
and
your
you get a
job.
200%. Yeah. So, or I mean, actually, that was the narrative around Play to Earn, right? It's just like, look
Right.
at all these people in other parts of the world where they live on $25 a day. Well, now they can play a video game and not, and
Right.
the thing is that the harsh realistic criticism is, okay, well, not everybody in the world can play a video game and earn something. This is being printed out of thin air, right?
Right.
And the economy still needs to function. So not everybody's going to be able to do this, but it's interesting that the people who are, I guess we can call them early adopters or savvy to how crypto is, can take advantage of certain arbitrage opportunities when they're presented.
Right. Right. And if you're kind of new to the realm and you've got into it and you get in early on one of these projects, whatever the next one is, in 3 months or next week or whatever
Hmm.
pops up. Theory I live by: no one's ever went broke taking profit. So there's always that aspect that if you can get some of that back, but I definitely wouldn't panic with Stepn. I don't see it. I don't see their incentive because I think their information. I mean, if you look at the information you're giving them, right? I mean, this is something that we haven't really.
You're talking about
But
like data that they're collecting on users.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This is an interesting
We haven't
conversation. I was already. Yeah.
touched on. I actually run it on a whole nother separate phone, right? I just have a phone that is just my tracking here, put all
Yeah.
this
Just for
stuff on,
Stepn.
have all that you want on there and my real stuff that I actually use. That information is valuable. And I
Oh
go
yeah.
back to it. I mean, I've seen these cycles a couple times. One was the internet, right? Why would anyone ever send an email and not write mail on
Yeah.
there, right? And the other one is, why is Facebook worth anything?
Hmm.
And it's network effect. Tesla is not worth a lot. They're not valuated at their valuation because they make electric cars. They're valuated at their valuation because of the network effect of the information that they're gathering with
Hmm.
all that and what that can be used for. Traffic patterns, people walking, where do they walk? I mean, just think if you were a city planner and you had access to this where everyone's walking at,
Hmm.
right? It's a much easier sell to put a park here or make this a walkway or make this a bike lane if you have that data
Yeah.
that's collected. And I think that's where a lot of this is. And I'm of the aspect that I'm not really too worried about it. I've agreed to give this information over.
Hmm.
How long will I do it? I don't know, but I think there is value in that. There's no value. I don't see there's much there. Let me take that back. There is value to them in a rug pull scenario, right? They make money, money's money. But
Sure.
I think what they get out of it long run, the more people that adopt this and participate in it and do this,
Hmm.
I think that value vastly exceeds any sort of Ponzi scheme or
Yeah.
rug pull that,
I
they would kind of do.
Well, I just think about the potential partnerships too, because they're at a very cross, it at a cross of very lucrative industries, right?
Yep.
You have a health industry, you have a
Yep.
fitness industry.
Yep.
You could probably tie nutrition in some ways,
Yep.
right? Like like people all of these things kind of fit together very nicely. And all of a sudden, like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Stepn do like a Weight Watchers
Right.
collaboration where it's just like people trying to lose weight because they're exercising anyway. So the amount, oh, let's not forget like all of, you know, how much money is in sports today, right? So
Right.
if they
Right.
collaborate with NFL, NBA, or something like that. So I just see they have the social capital right now.
Yep.
And so if they were to squander this and do a rug pull, they're all somewhat, I mean, they'd have to go hide on an island with all their money, right? So, and maybe they'd be happy with that, but I feel like, to your point, there's an incentive for them to make even boatloads more legitimately, right? They just
Right.
have to like get the project right, and then put it into position to really benefit from those partnerships.
And I think just the from what I've seen in the communications, I mean, it's basically we know most of the people on the team, right? It's not like a
Mhm.
DFK where we had
Oh
no
yeah, it's
idea who
all
these
anonymous. Yeah.
people were, but it's also not a Doquan, right? Who's just so hubris in his statements, right? He
Yeah,
thinks he's
yeah,
untouchable. Like, because you have to look at those things. When people do that, they get in the sights of other people,
yeah.
right? And I look at it, and even my last trip I was on, probably half the people that I saw had an Apple Watch on
Hmm.
that they paid for,
Yeah.
right? And so people say, well, what's the value in it? That right there, right? You paid for that. If
Hmm.
somebody would give you that, right, and you could earn and trade this token, or I mean, there's so much other things that people would do out of that for much less than they're getting now
Yeah. True.
on that. But from a gaming aspect, I think they're doing more with it. They don't make all the. I think that's what I like about Splinterlands too. Is I know your rewards have been pretty horrible out of your check, but it still contribute that common still contributes to something, right?
Yeah.
It can still contributes to the next level because you've got to get it. So it still rewards you for the grinding aspect.
Hmm.
Where traditional games are like, here you're going to open this case of cards and hopefully you get the case hit, and hopefully the
Yeah.
case hit is a Mike Trout. Otherwise, if it's anyone else, you've lost money and you have a bunch of commons that nobody wants or you can do anything with, right?
Yeah.
So there's that whole valuation of where the market is.
Yeah.
So overall, I like it. I keep going back to it. Should I get into it? It goes back to what you want to do with it
Hmm.
in there. From my perspective, and it also depends where you live too. I mean, we're kind of um, crapping on making $8 a day for walking, but for some people, that's a good day,
I mean, just
right?
a walk, right? Just a
Right.
walk. Yeah. So,
For 10 minutes, 20 minutes, right? I
yeah.
mean, that's the other perspective that you've got to put it into. And I didn't really understand their energy system now, but where they make it that it's not infinite, that you can't go infinite in there.
Hmm.
And I think another thing we got a flood of that we didn't talk about was, the pseudo ban in China, but that happens in crypto like every 3 days that they ban.
Yeah, and I mean that happened already, and it's gonna be its thing. But
But you had the anti-cheating mechanism, right? And that's
oh, that's
something
true.
that I
Yeah.
often wondered of, like, why don't I just hook 4 phones to me? Right?
Well,
Instead
I
of
heard.
getting the 9 energy, just get to 3, or get 3 pairs of shoes or 6 pairs of shoes and do an off account, right? And
Hmm.
at least you're getting double the. I think they realized that anti-cheating mechanism, they've had to dump some of those accounts,
Hmm.
right? With risk of them being locked up
Yeah.
on there. So I think that's something that's kind of been under the rug a little bit, which is a step in a good
Yeah.
direction, right? It's unfortunate for those people. I kind of feel for it a little bit, and it's kind of the bot scenario in Splinterlands
Yeah.
too, right? It's kind of hard when you're constantly hitting a moving target,
Hmm.
um, but I think that's the realm that we're in now, right? You've got to make those decisions knowing that this could flip a 180 on you in 3 to 6 months,
Yeah.
where that's at. And as long as you're not overexposed and it fits with what you want to get out of it, I think it's interesting at least.
That's how I view it. I bought my one shoe just to be part of the ecosystem, just to
Right.
see what it was all about. Now, again, I'm closely watching the prices, and if they do dip again, I may get in so that I could get 20 minutes of energy per day or 4 energy.
Right.
And I'd like to see what shoe minting is all about. So it's more
Yep.
so just for me to kind of experiment. But when I look at this, like, sure, if you ask me and I think hard about it, I can remember how much I spent on my one shoe. But I literally don't think about it. I don't lose any sleep about it, even though the
Right.
value of Solana, even though the floor price is down. Like, it's just like I got my shoe and I'm using it, and that's
Right.
that. I had to make that perspective shift with Splinterlands first, but now it's much easier with a lot of the other projects that I'm getting into, where it's just like, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm not going to overextend myself. I'm just
Right.
going to buy something so I can like participate in this. And so, I to your point, I hope that's the floor price does come down enough where everybody can feel like they can jump into this for
Right.
$20, $30, whatever it is. I mean, I think it's like what, maybe 90-ish right now, or 100
Yeah.
bucks, which is
Roughly.
vastly different from where it was a couple of months ago. But if it drops down even more and it gets more people in, like, this is one of the areas that I actually like. I want Stepn to succeed.
Right.
Here, this is gonna be a weird thing for maybe people to hear. Like, I want Stepn to succeed more than I want Splinterlands to succeed, mainly because I I think that their like move to earn to me is so much more fascinating and so much more beneficial to the world
I
than
agree.
play to earn. Right? Like, if people get out and start being healthy, like,
Right.
this gets them to change their lifestyles, and it's a cascading effect where now they're moving every day, so they start eating well, they start thinking more about what kind of foods they're eating, they start eating
Yeah.
healthier. So this could just be like literally world changing. I know I'm getting a little too pie in the sky right
No,
now,
it,
but it means
it is.
more
It
to me
has
for
much
it to
more
succeed.
impact, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's more accessible across there, and it links communities, right? This is the
Hmm.
other thing that it's just really hard. Like, if you're wanting to get out and move and go run, you're not going to join a running club, right?
Yeah,
Because those people are already way ahead of you,
sure. Yep.
right? And you got to be damn disciplined to be the person that's holding the whole group up and coming in 35 minutes after everyone else to do that. Where
Hmm.
this links, I mean, we've skipped over like a bunch of what they're going to do. The marathon aspect,
Hmm.
doing certain workouts throughout the week, doing community events similar to Pokemon Go. I mean, this is so early
Yeah, I
compared to
agree.
a lot of the other things. It's so early in that realm. Um, I think it should be said too that I don't think Solano is going to stay at $10 or $15.
Hmm.
One of the reasons I wanted exposure is, I've moved out of some Ethereum positions, just because I think we're going to be in a Bitcoin season for 6 to 8 months. I don't know. I look around November.
Yeah.
November, December is around sometimes when Ethereum flips and it kind of goes up. But usually Ethereum goes and then we get into alt season and then it all moves back into
Why
Bitcoin.
why then? Because I know that they're still planning for the merge in August, right? If that, again,
I,
it
I
could be
think
delayed.
that's priced in, but until Bitcoin does something, I just don't see anything. I don't see a flippening. I don't see any big movement because there's just so much money in Bitcoin. But
Sure.
I do see a $15,000 Ethereum
In the
at
future,
the
you mean?
same time that we see $100,000 BTC. I think there is more headroom, and I do
Fair.
see a 20 to 30x in Solana at some
Okay.
point too, right? So this could easily be a whole different aspect, but I'm not in it for that, and I'm in it for kind of for the long haul. Very similar to how I see the assets in Splinterlands.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you've got those early cards, that's alpha, beta, magic cards to me, just
Hmm.
because the print runs so low.
Yep.
Right. And it's the same in NBA Top Shot. I don't see NBA Top Shot. They do a lot of wrong things and the market's not even there. And we're still so early, right? We're still like 2000, 2001 internet adoption
Yeah.
stage, right? We're not
Agreed.
even, this is still the pets.com and Mark Cuban selling fm.com and that realm of things before we even hit kind of the total adoption. I mean, I think last podcast I looked at that it's 0.5% of all cash right now, of all
Hmm.
cash, not credit, just all
Just
cash,
cash. Yeah.
right? And so we haven't even moved into an adoption stage of that. But I like these groups that are doing this, and we haven't even seen like a successful or legit collaboration across these, right? I think the
Hmm.
biggest thing that lends me to this, and kind of why I'm in the DFK realm or the Splinterlands realm or the Rising Stars realm, is because there's the possibility that you could move some asset out of that into another game just by the bridging aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody agrees to something, let's say Rising Stars and Splinterlands, that if you have a couple of these assets, they then are seen on the other side and you could play them over there. I mean, that
They
would
could
be
have
amazing,
value. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you get the kind of the cross collaboration of somebody that you level up in DFK, you can move to another game, or your level 30 shoe, you could put on your DFK character and give them X, Y, Z agility and stamina, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't even touched the cap of where these things could go, because they're just all trying to get off the ground.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes me think of Ready Player One.
Very much so. I mean, that's exactly where I think a lot of this is going, because you solve supply chain issues at that point, right?
In what way? So, what do you mean supply chain issues?
Because you're giving rewards for what they're investing in and the energy that they are, and you don't have to digitally give them. A lot of people, let's take the sneakers for example. You'll wait online, you'll jump in there, you'll buy a sneaker, and then like 6 weeks later you'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're totally skipping that. You don't even have to send them sneakers now, right?
Oh
You're
yeah.
just sending
Okay.
them an NFT digital sneaker for something that they're going to use on a kind of day-to-day basis,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And be able to show it. And that's the big thing that about my physical collection, a lot of my comics and stuff, is a lot of times I'm the only one that sees it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you have that gallery that I can show you, hey, I've got this X, Y, and Z, or I minted this. There's just a lot more out of that than me ripping a box of cards and being like, okay, this is kind of what I got out of it. Share it with a couple people. But if you post it in the community, kind of what you open, it opens your avenues to a lot more people to be able to get
True.
right. So
I get that.
we should probably wrap up. I mean, we could
Yeah.
talk forever, but you've got one sneaker. What's your next step? Where are you looking at going at? What are you going to do?
What I'm going to do right now, I've just been saving up. So I have been one of those people that's been cashing out of GST
Mhm.
into USDC mainly because I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet. And I
Right.
don't want to trust the volatility of either Solana or GST. So I've been putting it in USDC. And part of me is like, well, if I'm able to save enough and the shoe prices fall, then I'll buy Solana and I'll buy another shoe.
Yep.
But if not, I think I have enough now to level mine up, or buy enough GMT to level mine up to level 10. So at this point in time, the long-term goal is to get my shoe all the way up to level 30, right? Or at least have a bunch of level 30 shoes. So with this with this shoe that I have, if the prices stay where they're at for too long and they don't come down the way that I'm hoping that they will, I'll just go and start leveling up my shoe, increase my earnings, move all the way up to level 19, and then make a decision there. So that's kind of like the rough game plan that I have. I've just been stacking aside USDC, and I'll make a decision based on where the prices go. But for now, that's my, it's nice to feel like there's a level of, or like a sense of progression within the game.
Right.
And whether that progression comes from me taking my earnings and buying another shoe, or taking my earnings and leveling my shoe up, I'll be happy either way. And like you said, in the long run, I'd love to have a level 30 shoe. Now, would I love to have like a fleet of shoes?
Right.
Sure. But I'm also at a point where I'm not ready to like throw more capital into this, because then at that point, then I'll feel like, okay, I put a ton into this and I no longer am like thinking about it as a game. Like I really did this because I'm trying to get more out of the game. But in a way that maybe I wouldn't feel comfortable. So if we do get, even if the shoes drop to like $50, then I might consider, going and just getting two more so that I don't have to think about it and just be like, I have these shoes. I have three shoes, which means 4 energy. So I can just level myself up and then not think about anything else. Everything is priced in GST terms, and 1 GST always equals 1 GST. So I'm good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what about you?
This recycling has kind of changed my aspect, because my main target was, I do a weekly DCA. I do Bitcoin every week. I've done it since like 2018 November. I just kind of set it, and it's worked out now. So I do that, and then I have a kind of a sliding scale of, in a scenario like this, I usually just go all BTC. every
Hmm.
week. But now where shoes are, in that $500 range, for an uncommon, I'm looking at moving into more uncommons up to getting to that 9 level, right?
Okay.
And getting, because once you get 9 uncommons and uh the the benefit of that with the added energy, you approach the 20, you're getting close, you're at like 17 or so. So it
Hmm.
was always kind of my question of like, okay, if I get all these shoes and then I get to the energy cap, what do I do now? Right? I can't do any. I've got all the shoes I can do. I can't really cycle. I've got to sell 7 of them to get a rare.
Hmm.
Now it kind of gives me an out of that you just kind of naturally mint them and have them, and there's not that high risk. And now I don't have to get rid of my energy, because that's one of the problems with the marketplace is if you have to sell 5 shoes to get the rare, you have to list them. Then you lose the
Sure.
energy.
Yeah.
And that could set for like a week, right? So you
Hmm.
could not having that. And I think this gives you a little bit more flexible plan that you can immediately do that and then gain the extra 2 from the rare where you're at. So your net missing of energy isn't the same. So if
Well,
your
it's
goal
just
is to
easier to
work,
plan around. Yeah.
right, if your goal is to work, do an hour every day, um, and kind of get something and fit within that reward, it's easier to plan on that. So I think I'm going to look more at the rare trainer aspect,
Okay.
on there. Get my one shoe up to 30, because I'm at 23 now. I should be
Oh,
at
nice.
23 after
Okay.
this. But I'm not. I don't. It's not so feel bad to level the other shoe, my other uncommon, up to
Hmm.
there, and then just hold my uncommons as I mint them. Earning GST, basically working it up that I have enough GST. So basically, that I'm working that I have enough for my whenever that DCA happens, whatever that week is.
Hmm.
Then I just buy whatever I need to mint. Like I'll just
Okay.
DCA in with that, mint on
So,
that.
so this is a
But
project that I would say, like, are still actively investing into then.
yeah, yeah, it's
Okay.
just the side DCA to kind of get, because I would like to get to 20 and kind of end game and I
20 shoes
20 energy, the
or
20
20
energy
energy. I'm
cap.
sorry. Okay.
Yep. And then, but I'd like to be able to then cycle out of those to then get the higher level shoes, right? And
Hmm.
now there's an incentive now, because like if you look for, the next after rare, epic, or legend, whichever one, I think it's epic. There are no epic trainers. Well, I don't think there's epics on the marketplace, right? So there's not even that ability to kind of do that. But now that there's this kind of roadmap that you can
You can
recycle these,
recycle the
there's the
shoes.
ability to kind of do that, right? But now you've got to think, the other thing is you can't sell your high shoe, because then your cap goes down, which I
Hmm.
ran into one time, that I sold my high trainer shoe and then bought a lower jogger shoe, but I already had way more energy than I needed, because I had the
Gotcha.
same amount of energy,
Uh-huh.
but my cap was way lower, and so I had to split it across 2 days because my cap was so low, because I was starting from a level 0 shoe, but I had seven energy in the bank. And at that lower level, when you have a lot of energy,
Hmm.
you get outside of your earning cap pretty quickly.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Well, it sounds like you and I are just going to continue playing
Yeah.
this thing and seeing seeing where it goes. Um, but I appreciate you taking the time to hop on here,
Thanks.
man. I hope that we can do it again in the future. Like I said, I'm bullish on the space. I'm not sure if Stepn's going to be the one, but they have huge market share and a
Right.
huge brand recognition at this point. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share, and then
Yeah,
kind of wrap up
yeah,
from
I'm
there?
I'm in the same. I don't know if this will look like what it is now, or where it
Hmm.
will change. But I think a lot of people, it's interesting because there's a bigger scrutiny now of UST and what DFK happened
Yeah.
in there. So a lot of people, and it was pointed out. I was watching something today, on this aspect of like, it surprised me of like all the holes in UST that we
Hmm.
didn't look at. Same with DFK. But if you think about it, in the bear market, this is where projects are built, right? Because there's
Yeah.
a lot higher scrutiny, because if you're on my end, if I'm going to DCA into it, I'm going to look at it and make sure it's worthwhile. And on Solano, we haven't even touched on the Solano network in general, but it's not something I'm really concerned about. It's early, right? If you apply the same metric to Bitcoin early on and all the forks there and Ethereum, right? It is what it is. It's the cost of being an early adopter.
True. So. Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like we're still just so early in the space. There's a lot of really cool innovation happening, and it's fun to be a part of and kind of see these things playing out in real time. And to your point, what's funny is now I think the Luna UST situation made me realize that I can never, or I should never, ignore FUD. Right.
Yep.
Because sure, there's a lot of like FUD out there, but there were a lot of people who also called what was going to happen that were just downvoted or ignored. So now it's just like anytime I hear something, I mean, you brought like the Celsius thing to my attention, right? So now it's just like, well, people are talking about this. It could be nothing, but it could be something that could be very damaging too, right? So,
like, and I think if you stay within your budget, right? If you stay within your budget and your risk allotment, and you're not aping in for $20,000, thinking that you're going to make that $20,000 in 13 days, you'll be fine. And I do feel bad for the people that did do that, right? Because we were caught up in that market. And I mean, basically also if you listen to me and I'm getting into a project, it's probably the top. So wait like six weeks and you can get in a lot quicker than when I finally decide that.
Well, you weren't the only one. I had heard about Stepn at that point, but I had just been too lazy. Like, in a way it probably saved me, because if I had gotten involved with Solana earlier, I probably would have been one of those people who's just like, oh my gosh, I can make $200 a day as long as I put $8,000 in. Nothing sounds fishy here. Let's go.
No, that's all right. Exactly.
So,
cool. Well, I appreciate it.
Anytime. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Wimawks, really great to chat with you. Catch you guys again in the next one.